Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Maring,
Here.
Dashlet,
Here.
Boer,
Here.
Wayne Schmidt,
Here.
Swedberg,
Here.
Meverden,
Here.
Ortlieb,
Here.
Kevin Schmidt.
Here.
Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our meeting is in compliance with the open meeting law. I would like a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Approval of the minutes from our July 18th meeting as written. Can I get the motion for that?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Public comment, is there anyone from the public that would like to address the city council? Anyone from the public that would like to come forward and address the council? One more chance, anybody want to come forward? Okay, well then we are moving on to consideration of bills, claims and conference attendance. Any questions on any of the bills that were submitted? Then could I get a motion to approve the payment of the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Would you do a roll call on that?
Just so I have it, I have a motion by Ortlieb, second by Swedberg to approve the bills,
Yes.
and a roll call of Meverden,
Yes.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Dashlet,
Yes.
Maring,
Yes.
Wayne Schmidt,
Yes.
Boer,
Yes.
Ortlieb,
Yes.
Swedberg.
Yes.
Okay, the next item, committee reports. Does anyone have any questions about any of the committee reports? Any questions? If not, then could I get a motion to approve the committee reports as submitted?
Motion to approve committee reports as submitted.
Motion by Boer, second by Ortlieb.
Yes.
Okay, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, they are approved. The old business, the RDA Area 2 update.
I put this on old business just to, I think, bring everybody, some are aware of it, some aren't, but back in May, I reported to everybody that we did not receive the funding. We fell a little bit short for receiving funding for the RDA block. About mid-July, we found out from our developer that now we did, somebody else, we don't know who, we don't know how, but somebody backed out or refused some funding, which then opened up funding for our project to move forward. With that being said, the RDA has had a meeting. We'll be meeting again with the RDA tomorrow with that project and continue to move forward. What we thought we were gonna be doing this time next year, we are continuing to move forward here and work through that project. And I put it on if anybody has any questions in regards to it. There's some unknowns yet that we're still working through with our developer and trying to just keep the wheel in motion here to keep moving it forward. So that's all there's no motion to be taken, just if anybody had a question about it, there's the RDA meets at 5 o'clock tomorrow, and we will, I'm sorry, I apologize, 6 o'clock tomorrow. We will continue to move forward with that.
Is there anything tricky in there at all, or is it pretty straightforward?
Well, there's some tricky stuff in it. There was some, so we got the big lump of funding, but because we missed some deadlines, we missed some dates because we weren't funded on the front side. So now there's a little bit more funding that we have to use the TIF to cover. But that's, one of the things that we're working through with the RDA, and hope that we will continue to bring that forward to finance and personnel with how that will be addressed.
When did they want to break ground?
It'll be spring. Yeah, spring.
Any other questions? If not, then we move on to the second ordinance reading for the animals. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the ordinance? Any other comments that you heard from other people that we need to talk about?
I have one question on that letter that I passed out through here.
Yeah.
Why was that not read or put in the minutes of the PPP?
I don't think it hurts to tell people that there was an issue.
Did the
Did you?
committee even get to see that letter?
I did not see it until you gave it to me today.
It was brought up in discussion at the meeting that there was people that may or may not be unhappy. Your letter was gone through, but
Yeah.
But not that one. So I mean, it's showing that there's more than one person that's concerned, and especially the one in the neighborhood, which is on the backside of Miss Moore.
Sounds like an enforcement issue here, though, isn't it, Lee?
Are we talking about this
I don't know.
email? The email, or is there a different?
I assume it's the email,
Oh, the email we're talking
this one that you said you passed around?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, that's what he's,
But I'm saying is, if she's having problems with her dogs, what is
Well,
she
and
gonna,
it's-
what's gonna happen to the ducks then?
I would like to recap or reiterate what I've said before, both at the committee level and at this level. Just because somebody is granted a license doesn't mean it can't be taken away. And if and when somebody were to come into the clerk to get a license for whether it's chickens or ducks or what have you, if there are any prior or pending complaints or issues, should that be taken into consideration? Absolutely, I would think. If somebody has something on their record with getting complaints from their neighbors, that should be taken into consideration. And if it comes back to the PPP for discussion, I think that would be warranted 100%. Just because if this second reading goes through and we pass this, does it mean that this individual is going to come and apply for a license and be given it? I would hope not. I would hope that there would be considerations that go into it, including previous complaints. But
Well, so I understand, what you're suggesting is that if there are issues, say you've got a noisy dog, irrespective of this particular issue, say you've got a noisy dog in the community, our clerk has the ability to deny a future license to somebody that has a noisy dog based on prior complaints or prior issues. Would that be a correct assumption?
I believe that the clerk has the ability to deny or give a license.
I want to be very careful.
Yeah.
Okay, if somebody has a barking dog, we can't deny them a chicken permit because they have a barking dog. If somebody has a barking dog and it needs to be addressed, we have a process and a procedure that goes to the police chief. The police chief vets that issue, and that should be addressed. If it's habitual, then, I mean, it should be addressed in that matter, okay? I think what Scott, you're alluding to is there's issues, I think if there's an issue that your yard has other problems, okay, I think that are chicken or duck related, I think then the clerk has the authority to say, I'm not gonna issue this permit because we have these complaints. We're getting, odor complaints, we're getting noise complaints, we're getting, there's varmints in the yard because you have, these animals in your yard. But I don't think if somebody has a barking dog, I think Casey, you had mentioned this, maybe even at the PPP level, of if one neighbor complains, maybe there's a long history there too, so and every complaint I think is valid, but I think because at the PPP level, I think it was brought up or discussed that we should maybe, ask, like, send out a thing, somebody wants a permit, and then we should ask the neighbors, well, if the neighbor says no, or one neighbor says no, is that fair to the person that's trying to get a permit or not fair?
But you go through the same aspect when you wanna add on to your house or your garage and you gotta get a variance. And the thing that gets me is you pay a big dollar for that variance now compared to what you did. And so if you had put an addition on, that's revenue coming into the city. You can have this problem and it's costing the city money eventually if she has problems. And ducks don't bring revenue into the city.
They do not.
But the taxpayers that are in the area do. And that's my concern.
I can build something onto my house without a variance, correct?
No, not if it's
So
close to.
long as it comports to what is listed in our ordinances,
That is correct.
I don't have to worry about
Correct.
the consideration
But
of the
that's
neighbor.
why I'm saying the variance.
Right, but so so that's an exceptional instance.
Just like this is exceptional.
This would be an ordinary incident because this would be in ordinance. And like whether or not the duck brings revenue in, I think is irrelevant. Like there's a quality of life consideration. You say if you want animals, go live in the country, right? Like you say, I do my best to have my lawn, nice and such. Like, but perhaps your lawn isn't ideal to somebody. But it complies with the ordinances. So I have a problem perhaps with somebody dumping all kinds of herbicides on the lawn, right? But that's fine because it's allowed in our ordinances. I have a personal problem, but that doesn't prevent you from being able to do it because it isn't denied or, in the ordinances. And that's the case with this. I mean, if we want to go to every instance, then like every time that somebody's speech, they should be denied something, or we should reduce the speed limit, or we should eliminate car traffic, right? Like, so far we have like 5 chicken permits and we have like 0 complaints. Am I correct? Very few?
Very few.
Right.
I don't know that I have one written complaint besides from when this all started.
Right, and I understand your perspective. However, even with a neighbor having issues with barking dogs, why does it come up now? Now it's on fire.
That's what I'm asking.
But no, I'm saying even the reason why the impetus behind this letter appears to be our movement towards allowing ducks, right? So why hasn't the barking dogs issue and my kids can't sleep at night or whatever the case may be, why weren't those addressed until now?
That's why he isn't here no more.
Well, that's, yeah, but again.
But are we gonna change an ordinance every time somebody wants something?
No,
We're not setting a precedent, it's just, every time somebody comes in, now somebody might come in and say, well, now I wanna raise turkeys.
Well, someone might say, hey, I wanna drive
Well, I
submarines on
understand
the
that, yeah.
street, like, anybody could come and ask anything, and it's incumbent on us to determine whether or not it's a reasonable ask. If somebody wants to come in and try to raise a donkey, even though it's explicitly listed in the ordinance, they can't. Who are we to deny them in audience, right? If somebody says that, right? We don't have to agree with it. Just because we passed something in the past doesn't mean that we have to just reflexively pass something that's similar or related in the future. Like, we have the discretion. And the community now versus what the community is going to be in 10 years could be entirely different. I mean, there's dozens of other more pertinent things that are actually important, right? Like, hey, look at our downtown, right? How can we do better to help, get those vacant spots in a better state, right? But we spend this much time on an issue that's about this big. And like to Scott's point, we can change it. If it doesn't work, if some problem arises, the pencils have erasers here. This isn't set in stone, to borrow from what Jake often says here, right? Like, I get your personal issue, but if we went on every individual's personal issue, we would never accomplish anything. We'd certainly not move forward. I digress.
Okay. That being said, are there any other comments?
I take it you'll address the barking dog with police chief.
Well, and this was back in April, and not to go into specifics, but, you all have a copy of it now, and my recommendation is if and when there's any citizen, any taxpaying citizen has any issue with anybody violating any ordinance, it needs to be reported. In this case, it was not, and that was my recommendation. As great as our police officers are, they are not psychic, they don't know what they don't know. If there's an issue with barking dogs or loud music after 10 o'clock at night or whatever it may be, you have to report it. If you don't know what you don't know. And if and when that's reported and it's not addressed, that's an enforcement issue. I can't put my personal opinion, to kind of recap what Casey was, I think, getting to is my personal opinion. I don't have chickens or ducks, but just because I think something is foolish doesn't necessarily mean that others think opposite. If and when this were to go through, and if and when it becomes an issue, and I think what we did and what Erin did, and I think she did a great job at going through and addressing Section 6 6.2 with the verbiage that needed to be cleaned up and the changes that were made. We need to make sure that the ordinance is enforceable. It's something that can be enforced, because a lot of it wasn't before. And if and when it becomes an issue, it needs to be enforced.
I just have one question. So this whole thing came about because one individual must have came to your committee and asked to change the ordinance for ducks, correct? Is that the way I read this or not?
Yeah,
That is
one
correct.
person came forward and tried to do the right thing, you know,
Right.
can I do this before I do it? Since then, we've had about 3 other inquiries, and I believe we may also be getting some inquiries from the school.
So that being said, if someone has an inkling to raise turkeys, for example, or whatever, they can follow that same
Yeah.
format. They can come in
Absolutely.
and say, well, we don't have it,
Whoa, no.
but we'd like to present.
Wait a minute. No.
No,
If somebody comes in here tomorrow and wants to raise turkeys, we're not starting to rewrite our ordinance tomorrow.
This is my point, though.
Yes.
That's why I voted no, because I think you're opening up Pandora's box. But I'm saying, how can you deny if I come in tomorrow and say, Matt, guess what? My wife and I decided we want to raise turkeys. I go through the same format, don't I?
you could, and you'd most likely get shut down at the committee level.
Well, how can you discriminate a turkey against a duck, I guess is my question. And I don't want to belabor this, but that was my point when I voted no. Because I'm concerned that we're opening up Pandora's box and all of a sudden now Mrs. Joe Blow comes in and says, well, I want to raise turkeys, and we're going to say, no, we're not even going to consider it.
The same thing could be arguably said about the chickens and ducks. If we pass chickens and there's been 0 issues,
But you don't know if there would be issues with turkeys either. I'm not going to belabor this. I mean, it's a second reading, so you vote the way you feel you want to vote. But I'm just saying that's why I voted no
Yeah.
the first time, so, okay.
good point.
Okay. Any other comments? Not, then do we want to go forward in voting on this and get a motion?
I would need a motion.
Yep,
Make a motion to go forward with this.
Second.
okay.
All right, so I have a motion by Boer, second by Kevin Schmidt, to move forward
A
with,
roll call then.
ordinance 839 and the changes as presented in front of you. Correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Ortlieb,
No.
Kevin Schmidt,
Yes.
Swedberg,
No.
Boer,
Yes.
Dashlet,
No.
Mehring,
No.
Wayne Schmidt,
No,
That's it.
and Meverden.
Yes.
Okay, the noes have it, 5 to 3. Hold on, let me do math. 5, yes, 5 to 3. The noes have it, the motion fails.
Okay.
To that point, though, we corrected some of the wording in the ordinance,
Nope,
and if we left the ducks out and left everything else, all the corrections and changes in there, I could vote for that.
No, we don't have a chicken ordinance no longer either, because we just voted no to it. Because of the change of our ordinance is written chicken and ducks, so we no longer allow chickens or ducks in the city.
why?
That's what I'm saying, okay.
Because
now
our
let's-
ordinance that we just voted no to says chickens and ducks.
Okay, hold on. So this needs to go back to the PPP now to clean it up.
right.
No.
Yes, it does.
Well,
The
yes,
whole thing
yes.
needs to be
Oh,
cleaned up.
correct.
We currently have a whole thing in here for chickens, so that would stay as is unless they're going to
No, it
make.
doesn't,
Why?
because it says now chickens and ducks.
That's what I mean. This whole ordinance fails, so everything stays the same.
Correct, it can go back to the
old
PPP for
ordinance stays
change.
the way
Go
it
back
was.
to the old
Right, so
ordinance.
chickens are still on the table.
You came
Correct.
to change a current ordinance, that got voted
It
down.
goes back to our
So
current
the old
ordinance.
ordinance is
Yeah,
still in
that is
effect.
correct,
So
yes.
chickens are still fine.
That is, I apologize,
Yeah.
yes, that
And
is correct.
If,
No, you
if
just
John is
use the old
saying
ordinance.
you need to
Correct.
correct it to add the wording and stuff, the committee can come back with it.
That's what I mean. So now
Right.
this will go back to the PPP committee to review, clean up. It will, some other form will come before you again, cleaned up, hopefully.
So I got a question. What if personally we decide now we don't want chickens? In my mind, ducks are no different than chickens, so now we're okay with chickens?
The ordinance is already in place with
Place.
chickens.
Yes.
Essentially would have been the same
So we
thing.
have been
But
okay
it's
with
still the
chickens.
same as ducks, so my question is, should we even have chickens?
The chickens ordinance is in place,
Well,
unless
ordinances
somebody
have
wants
been
to bring it up to
changed.
eliminate chickens.
What is the direction of this body for the PPP committee to review this chapter? Not the ordinance, the chapter. What is the direction of this body to take back to the PPP committee? Does that make sense? Because we do need to clean this up. We're all in
Right.
agreement that this needs to be cleaned up.
There's
So-
other things that need to be addressed in the ordinance
Yeah.
Yeah.
of what we're looking to change besides just adding ducks.
Yep, so
You
what is the direction? To just go back and clean it up with the PPP committee, leaving it as is? Or, to Kevin's point, Kevin has now made the comment about chickens, so what is the direction of this body for us in the PPP committee?
My personal opinion is that the wordings where you changed animal officer to police department, okay? You made that change because we don't have an animal control officer.
Well, me and Aaron sat down and spent a lot of time on that, Wayne, and I think it makes a lot of sense to say animal officer, that just the chief can deal with it because he's
No,
here.
But
Yeah.
that's my point, Matt. You're saying, what should we do with this? Well, I personally, the only thing I'm against is the ducks, and I'm not against ducks. I'm against when somebody comes in and says, I now want to raise ducks. That individual got a meeting with the PPP, and the PP brought it forward and
Yep.
said, we want to change the ordinance and add ducks. But yet, when I say I want to add turkeys, I'm going to be shot down right away. So, my no vote was the word ducks. If you take the word ducks out of there and you're changing it because it's simply wording, changing the name from humane officer to police officer, I don't have a problem with that. And if you're looking for direction to Scott's committee, that's my personal opinion. I don't know what the other 7 want. I can't speak for them, but.
That makes sense.
How many people have chickens in town?
I would say less than 5.
Or 25, but less than 5 have permits.
Five? Oh, yeah.
Would you like a motion for them to bring this back to the PPP or
Nope.
just
I'd
go off
I'd
of
go
this
get that.
discussion?
It doesn't need a motion.
Okay, so it's gonna go back to PPP and then come back with another change to, I can see some wording has to be changed. Obviously, we have to change the wording to the police officers being able to do the stuff.
It will be at the discretion of the PPP though, right? The recommendation will come back through from there, right? So regardless of, but we have an idea of what displeases, but, you know, we'll look at it when we get back down on the PPP.
Can we add camels?
Looking at how the vote passed through the committee level and even through the first reading, I mean, it was 5 yeses and today it's only 3. I get it. I think bringing a totally unrelated email to light the night of a meeting, not good form. Put that on your record.
Why wouldn't it be, why wasn't it read in your meeting?
Shouldn't have been in the packet before too. I mean, is this?
I mean, brought up?
Hey, got shot down. Is what it is. Now you know where I stand.
Yep.
Okay, then at this point, we're moving on to new business.
There is none.
There is none, okay. Administrator's report?
Yes, couple of things. 2023, 2024 utility project. Last Tuesday, they got started underway. They started in the intersection of Fremont Street, working south towards Jefferson Street. Tuesday and Wednesday were some pretty rough struggles. Wednesday with the heavy amount of water, but Thursday got a little better. Friday, I think they were able to put a fair amount of pipe in the ground. They will continue to work forward. They are gonna do, start on Fremont, or start on Division, start at Fremont. They're gonna take care of that first block. They're gonna come back, tie on, get the water in, and then move to the second block, and they will continue to work south all the way to Jefferson Street. So everybody knows, on Division Street, if everybody could get their garbage out Tuesday mornings, by 6 a.m., preferably the night before. Instead of the trucks coming into town and going straight downtown, they will try to get there before construction starts at 7 o'clock. As far as water, there should be no sanitary interruptions. Water interruptions should be very, very little. But there will be, when they tie everybody over, and the utility has been and will continue to notify as that has to happen, if they're gonna be off of water for a short period of time. So Shanty Days, the parade route will stay the parade route. It will go all the way down Fremont Street as it always has in the years past. But from Fremont to Jefferson on Division, there will be no parking. The sidewalks will be closed. So people that normally park on Division will have to find an alternative parking place for the Shanty Days parade. So that's all I have on that. Sewer rates, the average single-family resident using approximately 2,500 gallons of water will see an increase to their bill of about $2.23. Our treasurer just ran some rough calculations on approximate $2,500 or 2,500 gallon water bill, which is kind of our average residential household. Their bill will be going up by $2.23. That is the first stage of our increase. The second stage will come January 1st for that full sanitary sewer rate increase. So just kind of let the public get that out there. Not on my list, but added tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we'll be meeting with the Wisconsin DOT. The construction of rebuilding Highway 54 from Sunset Avenue to Rockledge Road in Luxembourg. That project is scheduled to start on August 21st, weather permitting, and completed October 31st. That will be just like Highway 42, north and south from Algoma. There's a little bit of culvert work that they will be doing. There's some detours that will happen throughout that period. They will all be addressed. This is a DOT project, and then after the culvert work is done, a complete mill and overlay. So 13 miles of work. So
Do you know what the detour is gonna be?
there's 4, I think, different detours. Exactly what they are depends on what section of highway they're on. So kind of like they detoured Highway 42, depending on what phase they're in, where the actual detours will be. But once they're done with the culvert work, the highway will be opened back up, and then the mill and overlay will actually happen under flag traffic. It will be opened back up. You might have be stopped for a little while and have to go around. It'll be slower moving, but it will be opened back up. So
Where are they gonna start?
they are starting in Luxembourg on Rockledge Road, Highway 54 and Rockledge Road. They will be coming towards Algoma. So it'll be later in the project. Like I said, August 21st they're starting, but they are starting on the west end working east. So
I got a question on, about Division Street project. Now, you mentioned tonight about the recycling and garbage. Has that been communicated to those people? I mean, maybe they don't watch this, so.
It's out on Facebook.
Facebook.
I can't remember if I put it on our website or not, but I definitely can. But it was out on Facebook.
there's social media
And
sites that
people
we
who have
use.
been calling in, we've been getting a bunch of questions, and I think that's kind of what prompted to put it out on Facebook, was the questions about it, saying, when do we put it out? Everything's normal, just put it out earlier.
So really, Lee and Jake should be going door to door.
Yeah, right.
You're how old today?
Hey, get it?
And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
I did go door to door.
The next, Mayor's, I have no comment except to say happy birthday to Wayne Schmitz, and it's out publicly now.
Yeah, it's all out there now. Thank you,
Okay,
appreciate that.
if anybody needs to get anything for our next meeting, get it over to Matt or Aaron. Our next meeting will be September 5th at 6 PM.
Just an FYI, that's a Tuesday,
Yeah,
because
of
Labor
the
Day is the day
holiday.
before.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're busy Labor Day, Gus, aren't we?
And then could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're golfing, aren't we?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Gracias.